Welcome to today's episode of Healer Within. This is Amy with Sensorium Hypnosis, your intuitarian coach, where intuition leads and transformation follows. Today, we're going to explore the transformative power of metaphysical healing for personal growth and the spiritual implications of letting go of your trauma story. We'll explore what it means to let go of your story, how to shift your mindset, and the incredible transformation that can happen when you stop identifying with your past wounds. Along the way, I'll share some personal experiences that created emotional resilience, inner peace, and prosperity born of spiritual wisdom. We all have stories of hardship, betrayal, loss, and pain. But what if I told you that holding on to these stories might be the very thing keeping you stuck? What if letting go of these old narratives is the key to living a life of peace, power, and prosperity? I'll share some metaphysical questions that shifted my entire reality. These questions led to profound changes in my life, especially in the way I viewed my past traumas and how I could use them as stepping stones to something even greater. Let's get started. At some point in your life, you'll be confronted with a truth that can be both difficult and liberating. You've got to be willing to let go of your story. The version of you that has lived through trauma, loss, or hardship may feel like it's an important part of your identity, but it doesn't have to define you. Your story, though significant, doesn't have to hold you hostage to the past. Many of us get stuck in a loop, constantly replaying the same painful narratives. But the energy we put into our stories, whether of victimhood or suffering, shapes our future. This is where the metaphysical questions start to arise. What if we asked ourselves when enduring a hardship, what am I truly identifying with in this moment? Is it the wounded child inside of me? Or is it the empowered soul that's capable of healing and thriving? Our thoughts, emotions, and even the stories we tell ourselves have powerful vibrations. They influence everything we attract into our lives. If we're constantly focused on pain or victimhood, we continue to manifest more of that very energy. The first step is recognizing that you are not your trauma. You are a soul having a human experience, and your true essence is beyond past pain. One of the deepest metaphysical questions I encountered during a difficult time was after my divorce. I remember feeling completely emotionally betrayed. But amidst the emotional turmoil, I asked myself these questions. What is it in me that needs to remain a victim? What part of me is holding on to this pain as a way of staying small or avoiding my true power? These questions were the beginning of my spiritual awakening. I realized that I had been unconsciously using my trauma as an excuse to avoid stepping into my full potential. These questions led me to explore the nature of my soul's journey. I began to see that victimhood was a role I was playing out of fear, as well as an intergenerational trauma pattern. And fear was the real and only barrier to my personal transformation. If you've ever experienced emotional pain or loss, You may also have found yourself clinging to that victim identity because at the time it feels safe. It's a way of protecting yourself from the fear of failing again. But here's the metaphysical truth. Your soul didn't come here to stay stuck or to remain in a state of constant turmoil and suffering. The moment I realized this, I started to ask myself more empowering questions like, what would my life look like if I fully embraced my strengths and gifts? What would my life look like if I took complete personal responsibility for my own outcomes? How would I show up for my life experience if I believed in my worthiness of love, success, and joy? Another transformative phase in my life came when I was suddenly forced to leave my mainstream employment position due to a debilitating and undiagnosed condition. My body was shutting down, and I felt as though I was living a life of perpetual crisis. I was left penniless, jobless, and overwhelmed by anxiety and grief. But in that moment of total despair, I asked myself one of the deepest metaphysical questions I've ever pondered. Who am I in this world as a soul? Who am I in this world as a soul when my body feels broken and incapable? This was a metaphysical question that transcended the physical realm and plunged into the very core of my being. It forced me to confront the nature of my very existence. If I am more than just a physical body, then who am I at the deepest level? What is my true essence? I had to make peace with the idea that I am not defined by my body's condition, nor am I limited by the physical challenges I face. It was in this deep surrender to my soul's truth that I found a sense of peace, even amidst the chaos. Another metaphysical realization I had during this time was how my thoughts were directly impacting my physical and emotional outcomes. I'd always known intellectually that thoughts create our reality. But this was a time when I was forced to confront it in a visceral way. My body was suffering. My financial situation was dire, and my mental state was in complete crisis. I had to ask myself, how am I thinking about my situation? How is my mindset influencing my outcomes? And most importantly, what do I need to change internally to shift my external reality? This was a point where I began to explore the practice of mind over matter. I realized that thoughts are powerful energetic frequencies. If I continued to focus on lack, illness, and fear, I would only attract more of that energy back into my life. When I started shifting my mindset to one of possibility, abundance, and trust in the divine timing of my life, things began to slowly change. Here's an incredible metaphysical principle. Your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal state. If you can shift your internal world, your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, you can change your external circumstances. I began to actively rewire my brain by shifting my thought patterns. Instead of focusing on what wasn't working, I began to focus on gratitude and opportunities. Every day, I practice affirmations and visualize myself thriving in health, abundance, and joy. Slowly over time, my energy began to shift. Today, I'm entering my 10th year of private practice as a spiritual hypnotherapist and coach. In my work, I teach others how to deactivate the primitive mind and trauma self while activating the higher mind, the infinitely wise manifesting master that can overcome and achieve absolutely anything. So, how do we break free from the grip of trauma and move from survival into a place of abundance? How do we rewire our lives for spiritual growth, peace, and prosperity? First, it begins with a commitment to living in the present moment. The past no longer serves you unless you decide to continue to live in that old reality. The more we focus on our past traumas, the more we reinforce them in our reality. But the present moment is where true power resides. Second, we must adopt a mindset of abundance. This isn't just about money. It's about seeing every area of your life as full of potential. It's about shifting your perspective to one of gratitude, trust, and endless possibilities. And lastly, it's about letting go of the ego, the part of you that wants to hold on to the pain, the victimhood, the fear. Letting go of the ego opens up space for your higher self to emerge. This is where the true magic happens. So today, I'll leave you with this. You are not your trauma. You are a spiritual being having a human experience, and your soul's purpose is to evolve beyond your challenges. It is time to release what no longer serves you and step into the most empowered version of yourself. The metaphysical questions you ask yourself today will shape the reality you live tomorrow. So ask yourself, what story am I holding on to? What do I need to release to embrace my higher purpose? And how can I rewire my thoughts to create a life of abundance? Thank you wholeheartedly for joining me today on The Healer Within. I hope this episode was inspiring. If my message resonated with you, please subscribe and share this with someone who may find this message valuable. You can connect with me online at sensoriumhypnosis.com or send me an email. My email is amy@sensoriumhypnosis.com. If you'd like to explore having an on-site hypnotist at your place of business through my executive performance hypnosis, again, you can connect with me online. I'd love to hear from you. Remember to ask those deep metaphysical questions that bring wisdom and inspiration into your soul's journey. Until next time, I'm wrapping you in light and love.